This is only a grip.
It's only in my hands on every single shot.
It's an extra 2 yards of carry when it matters most.
Respect the grip.
Hi, and welcome into the Wagyu Filet Show. Johnson, Wagner, Brendon de Jonge. Sony Open in Hawaii is in the books. Grayson Murray, a champion with a wild playoff finish. What were your initial takeaways?
Well, firstly, that Grayson Murray is a changed man. You know, he went out there, he won that playoff, and then just listening to him speak, like this guy's put in a lot of effort into his personal life. He has changed, and you know what? I'm a believer. I really am. You know, he said all the right things, and you could tell that there was kind of a genuine feel to everything that he was saying. He realized that he wasn't the most popular guy out there, didn't have a whole lot of friends, and he went about changing it. And you know what? Good for him.
I agree. He completely seems like a changed man. Get back to that in a second. But the golf, like he didn't do anything really spectacular Sunday, just made a lot of pars. As you know, that golf course there, Wildlife Country Club, you have to take care of the 2 par 5s, which he did every day, including made 1 eagle. So he played them 9 under, 10 under if you count the playoff hole. So he made the turn, eagled 9, birdied 10, and birdied 18 twice, once in regulation, once in the playoffs. So took care of the easy holes and didn't make any mistakes. Really impressive. And I second everything you say about him. Like going forward, I think he has turned it around and thrilled for the kind of person. I look forward to meeting him, this Grayson Murray. The Grayson Murray I knew was a cocky, arrogant kid that made a lot of bad choices. And I played a practice round with him once at the Players Championship. We played 9 holes. I don't know why he wanted to play a practice round with me so bad, but he did. And he was being real cocky about how much we're going to play for, something per birdie and per eagle. And we get out and I hole it on 1 for eagle, and then make about a 30-footer for the eagle on the second hole. So I was up big, and he paid me right there off the 9th green, just whipped it out and handed me the money. So I've always got respect for guys that pay right on that 18th green, 9th green, what may it be.
Yeah, you start eagle. I'm kind of surprised he didn't walk in after 2 holes.
Clubhouse is right there.
Yeah, you're right there. Yeah, you know, I met Grayson a while back, and as you say, he was cocky, he was arrogant, and you know, a word I think that has been thrown around a lot that makes perfect sense is immature. He needed to grow up. He really did. You know, I did an outing with him at Horseshoe Bay just outside of Austin, and you know, I wasn't sure who was going to be at the outing, so I rock up and I see it's Johnson and Grayson Murray and Rich Beam, and obviously the 4 of us, we spent a lot of time together there. And you know what, I left there and I wasn't the biggest Grayson Murray fan. I mean, to put it lightly, he was a guy that was very full of himself, brash, not someone that you'd really want to spend a lot of time with. And then what I saw Sunday after making that winning putt was certainly a different human being. So good for him, and that's pretty cool to see.
Yeah, I mean, and he went back down to the Korn Ferry Tour, played off past champion status. Unfortunately, you and I know what that's like on the PGA Tour. It's a tough road to hoe. He goes and wins twice on the Korn Ferry Tour, once in the playoffs. So that's his 3rd win in 9 months. He also had some good finishes sprinkled in at the John Deere Classic, the Barbasol, and like a dramatic turnaround. I mean, just think back in 2022 in the fall, like the story about Grayson Murray was, and I got his spot in Bermuda, had the bad scooter accident. His picture of his face was all over social media. And just to see where he's come in such a short period of time is it's really heartwarming, and I hope it sticks. It seems genuine, like you said, and I hope it sticks with him. And I like the way he's talking. He wants to change who he is as a person. The golf is just coming kind of secondary, so it's a good step, and maybe you could learn something from that. But Brendon, you're down at Calusa Pines playing a little golf. Tell me about your golf game.
You know what, Wags? I played yesterday for the first time since we were down at Calusa Pines at the beginning of December. And you know what? I actually kind of surprised myself. I found the middle of the face. The ball still didn't go very far, but it went straight for the most part. And I actually played a lot better than I was expecting to. So, I've got 2 more days of golf plus an afternoon round today, so 3 more rounds. I'll be a little tired at the end of it, but you know what? I'm looking forward to it, and yeah, as I say, I was kind of pleasantly surprised.
You got to give me a score. What'd you shoot?
I shot 69. I did find out after the fact that perhaps I might have played a couple of the wrong tees. I think we were supposed to play a combo, and maybe we just played the member tees.
69, that's better than you and I played best ball around Inclusive Pines, probably playing up a tee from where we did in the Invitational, though.
Yeah, we played a slightly shorter golf course yesterday, but we did play with some breeze. Of course, it's a little bit softer than when we played at the Invitational as well, not quite as fiery. But yeah, it's always a special place. I know we've both been members down here for a little while, and it's always one of those places when as soon as you drive through the gates, it's kind of like everything else goes away, and you just got to enjoy yourself, and it's always a great time.
That is for sure. You're going to need to tell Eddie and Mike Ballier hi for me while you're there.
I will do.
Let's get into a couple other guys in the playoff. I want to first start with Keegan. I felt like Keegan had it in his hands, and he didn't get off to a great start. But Eagles number 9 and was on had a couple other wonderful shots on the back 9, throwing out a fist pump on 15, and guys seemed to be like Russell Henley got up there and then made bogey on 16. Carl Yuan was playing good, was right there at 17 under, and then he bogeys 17 and doesn't birdie 18. And you just thought that Keegan had it in his hands, standing on that 18th tee, knowing birdie wins. And it just hit multiple bad shots, both in regulation and in the playoff. What did you make of Keegan's week? And I don't know if you caught his post-round press conference, but he was pretty gutted after this one.
Yeah, and you can understand why. As you say, that's one of those where you feel like it's your tournament to win. You've just got to make the right swing at the right time there. In the playoff, hit the best tee shot, standing right there in the middle of the fairway. Grayson Murray's already had to chip out, or not chip out, but lay up. Brendon's missed the green short right. It's in your hands. Hit that hybrid somewhere in the middle of the green. Put a lot of pressure on those guys. Unfortunately, didn't pull that off. Pulled it left into the grandstands there, and from there actually had a pretty easy chip shot, and still didn't get that up and down. And this is all on the back of not birding 18 in regulation, which would have won the tournament. Hit a really weak wedge shot there. So, yeah, I did catch that press conference, and you could tell that he was pretty gutted, and you understand why, because he certainly feels like this was his tournament, and he let it get away.
Yeah, and like Grayson, like we were just talking about with Grayson, the par 5s on this golf course, Keegan was playing them great, had birdied them all up until Sunday, Eagles 9, and it's like the script was written for him, and he wasn't able to get it done. Do you think hitting that hybrid, he talked about trying to hit like a cut in there, and he double crossed it. Do you think he was trying to get too aggressive and forcing that fade shot to that back right hole location?
I do. I would have liked to have seen, and obviously it's very easy with hindsight and to judge after the fact, but I would have liked to have seen something. Just get that ball on the green. You're going to increase the pressure on those guys by tenfold. If you just get that ball on the green, essentially guarantee yourself a birdie. Then these guys are thinking, hang on a second, I need to make birdie. So yeah, I would have liked to have seen him just get something up the middle of that green. Don't try and take that flag on, and obviously double crossed it.
And so Ben On, who I really didn't like where he had hit it in the playoff short right. That's a brutal pitch. Now this dude's short game is next level. He's got like ridiculous hands. After seeing Grayson hit the wedge in there, Keegan not hit a very good pitch shot. Ben On delivers a 10 out of 10 chip to about 4.5, 5 feet.
Yeah.
What was going through your mind after Grayson makes that bomb and Ben On? You're thinking, got to have a second playoff hole, right?
I really was. Obviously Ben On is not known as the best putter, but is rolling the ball pretty well at the moment since he's gone to this broomstick method. I firmly expected him to make that 5-footer, as you say, and really just hit a poor putt and didn't touch the hole from 5 feet. And I would imagine that Grayson Murray was as surprised as anybody.
And I talked with, I was doing Golf Channel, Golf Central last week, and I talked with Sean Foley, Ben On's instructor, Saturday for a while. And the work that Ben On and Sean have been doing, like he told me Ben always had a fantastic short game and was real wristy off the ball. And it hadn't had a lot of speed, but spun it too much and wasn't a very efficient, ball speed numbers, considering how fast he could swing the club, just with the wristiness and spin. So Sean sent me some pictures and told me that they were just trying to get a lot wider, take the wrists out on the backswing. And man, Saturday, Sunday, I was really trying to pay attention to his swing. He has come a long way. The swing he made in regulation on 18 was one of the, and I mean, it was 15 feet pin high left, like, and he was so balanced in his follow through. It's like when you make a swing and you get to your left side and you're just posing, you feel like you could stand in that position for 5 minutes and not get tired because you're so balanced. And that's what it looks like to me for him. Now, remember, he hasn't played since the playoffs, had some of that Korean cough syrup that ended up turning out. It had some performance enhancing drug in it, which is ridiculous. Ben-On was not trying to do anything like that. But he comes out after a long break, 4 months off, finishes fourth at Kapalua. Yeah. And then this, T2 last week at Sony. I just think his game has been trending. Sean also told me he switched to that broomstick at the Deer. And if you look at his putting numbers, I mean, I'm not saying that he's a Denny McCarthy, but his putting numbers are much better. And when you have that kind of short game and that kind of ball striking, I see Ben-On winning this year.
I do too. And, getting back to that long iron that he hit into number 18, that's the sort of shot that you dream of hitting. Just an absolutely beautiful, towering long iron in there to the perfect spot. Got it in there pin high. And, there's not many guys in the world that can hit their long irons like that, where you can hit it straight up in the air and that far. And I'm with you. I would be very, very surprised if we don't see Ben-On winning the series. One of those guys that's on a very short list of best player out there not to have won. Obviously, Tommy Fleetwood would be another guy on that list. But, yes, I would be very, very surprised if we don't see Ben-On win.
Yeah, and Tommy Fleetwood, you brought his name up. He had a great battle with Rory McIlroy in that new Dubai Invitational 60-man field. They played with AMS for 3 days. Tommy and Rory were in the final group together, and it was like a back-and-forth battle all day long. Ultimately, Rory made a couple more mistakes, including a rinse tee shot on 18 that opened, with a one-shot lead that opened the door for Tommy Fleetwood to make about a 15-footer to win on 18 green. It was a pretty cool scene. Happy for him. But, yeah, Tommy's this guy that this is his seventh win in on the DP World Tour, but just can't seem to get it done. There's a couple, the Honda Classic a couple years ago, Tommy needed birdied on 18, and he rinsed it right at PGA National. And then last year in Canada, birdie this easy 18 finish in regulation. He wipes it off the tee, wipes the layup, and just I'm confident he'll be a guy that gets it done, though.
Yeah, and you made this point to me earlier, a while back when we were talking about Tommy Fleetwood. We expect him to win, but he also only plays the toughest events in the States. He's playing all the big events because he's still trying to split time. Does spend a bunch of time playing in Europe on the DP World Tour, has a residence in Dubai. So yes, I thought you made a great point there, where he is going to win, but he does only play the biggest events. If he was to play a full schedule in the States, I firmly believe he would have knocked off that W already by now.
Yeah, it's not like he's going there and picking off like the Barracuda every once in a while.
Yeah.
And I mean, Hatton's kind of the same way. I think, Hatton's got that one win at Bay Hill a couple of years ago, but Hatton plays big events in the U.S. and he splits his time between the DP World Tour as well, which is crazy. Tommy Fleetwood flew from Kapalua, and he makes he has, I think his home is now Dubai.
Yeah,
but right. he flew to Dubai and played a tournament this past weekend. There's a couple guys going from Sony and Brian Harmon and Tyrrell Hatton who are going over to play the Dubai Desert Classic, the event we know from Dubai so well. Rory's defending. It's the 18th. Is that really cool par 5? That's an incredible risk reward sort of hole. So looking forward to that week. Russell Henley was at one point on the back nine. He was unstoppable on Sunday. He was pouring in putts from everywhere, and I was digging up stats because I knew he wasn't a good putter. Like, I don't think he's ever been ranked in the top 100 in strokes gained putting in a season. And then you see him bombing all these in. It got me thinking, like, all right, and his wins, how many times has he led? And it turns out 2 of his wins, he led the field in strokes gained putting. Another one, he was 3rd, and another one, he was like 35th. And then Mexico didn't have proper stats. But when Russell Henley gets on, it's quite remarkable that ultimately that 3-putt on 16 kind of jumped up and got him.
Russell Henley has kind of turned into Charles Howell around Waialae. You know, it used to be that Charles Howell, every time he teed it up at Waialae, you could guarantee he was going to finish top 10, top 5. Russell Henley's kind of in that same vein now. You know, he obviously loves that golf course, looks very good to his eye. He has been in contention there a number of times. But yeah, you're right. That untimely 3-putt there at 16 was kind of what derailed him and cost him. But he's another guy that's playing some good golf, and he's one of those guys that seems like when he gets on a streak, he plays good golf for 4 or 5 weeks in a row. So, you know, keep a close eye on Russell Henley going forward.
I completely agree with that. Played well at the Masters. Like he pops up on courses that it's just like, really?
Yep.
But first event of the year, full field event, had a bunch of rookies making their debut on the PGA Tour. Matthew Pavon, I believe, the Frenchman who earned his card from the top 10 on the DP World Tour. He was one of the he was the low rookie, and I think he's moved into that Aon Swing 5 for those guys in between signature events. So it's the next one's Pebble. So it's Sony Open, AMEX, and Farmers, the top 5 in the FedEx Cup points list that aren't otherwise exempt will get into Pebble Beach. So that's a nice little thing for the mules, for the rookies, for anybody that's not in the signature events to have a chance to qualify. At least it's a carrot dangling in front. First event on the PGA Tour for you, 2007, and me as well, 2007 Sony Open. What do you remember most about that? You're making your PGA Tour debut in Hawaii.
You know, I remember it like it was yesterday, just because of how it went down. I was on the East Coast on Wednesday afternoon, and I had spoken with my agent, and I'd made the decision that I wasn't going to go across if I was first alternate. I needed to be in the field. Come Wednesday afternoon, I'm still first alternate. Then I get a phone call from the tour. You're in. Somebody's withdrawn. So I need to get from Charlotte, North Carolina to Honolulu, Hawaii by 7:35 on Thursday morning. Managed to find a flight out of Charlotte. I wasn't packed. I hadn't touched a club for several weeks. Wasn't packed. Raced home, got packed. Managed to get on a flight to LA. Landed in LA at some weird time and managed to get on a flight from there to Hawaii. And I remember landing in Hawaii at 3:30 in the morning. Obviously, I've slept very, very little. And so I felt terrible. Some volunteer had to be there to meet me at 3:30. And he's like, well, what do you want to do? I was like, well, how about we drive around for a little while, go see some of the island, and then just take me to the golf course. So took me to the golf course. I showed up at the course around, 4:30, 5 o'clock. And as I say, had a 7:30 tee time with Jeff Ogilvy, who was the reigning U.S. Open champion, and Dean Wilson, who's from Hawaii, the local favorite. And we were teeing off on number 10. I don't know if you remember this. There's a concrete slab down the left side of the 10th fairway. So I hit my first tee shot, and I hit this nice hard cut down the left side of the 10th fairway. It lands on this concrete slab and goes on the green. My first tee shot on the PGA Tour, and I think I 3-putted it to make par. But playing really nicely the first day on no sleep at all. I think I shot 2 under the first day, then came out after a really good night's sleep, and I think I shot 1 over the next day. Ended up missing the cut by 1, and then turned around and flew back to Charlotte.
While you were telling that story, it brought I'd forgotten about that you got in so early that morning as an alternate. And there's another funny you flying out to Sony Open story that you just kind of jogged loose in my memory. You remember that one when maybe you potentially had a bit of an injury to a certain part of your body on that flight?
Yeah, you know what? I do. I remember that one very well, unfortunately. So we were playing what we used to call in Zimbabwe king stingers, which is essentially tag with a tennis ball. So I'm playing with all these sort of 6, 7-year-olds in the neighborhood, and I'm just picking these little kids off one by one with a tennis ball. I mean, some of them in tears, knocking some of them down. And this one little kid snuck around the back of the house. And as I turned around, he threw this tennis ball as hard as he could and hit me straight in the nuts. I went down like a sack of potatoes. So I'm laying there in my driveway, just holding my nuts, just screaming in pain. These kids all think this is absolutely hilarious. They're all laughing. So I get myself up and I walk inside and I'm kind of sitting on the couch and watching TV or whatever. And I'm in agony right now. So I go and I look in the mirror and my right testicle is like a grapefruit. So I call my wife.
That's not normal, right?
No, that's not normal. That is not what normally looks like. So I call my wife Mary and I'm like, listen, we better go to the emergency room. So I'm holding my nuts in my hand, walk into the emergency room, and they take me back there, and I'm waiting. I'm covered up by a sheet, and the doctor kind of flips the sheet back and he goes, "Oh God."
That's what you want to hear.
That's the reaction you're hoping for, anyway. So they obviously check me out, and it can be very dangerous if your nuts have twisted. So luckily enough, my nuts didn't twist, but this is this how this ties into the Sony Open was. This was about 2 or 3 days before we were getting ready to go to Sony. So anyway, the swelling goes down, so I feel like I'm good enough to go. So fly from Charlotte, and I think I was connecting in Phoenix. Fly from Charlotte to Phoenix. Get on the next flight, flying from Phoenix to Honolulu, and I guess the pressure didn't agree with my my right nut. So this thing swells up again. I need to ask the flight attendant for a bag of ice. So I asked for a bag of ice, and she's like, "If you don't mind me asking, why do you need a bag of ice?" So I tell her, and she gives me a bag of ice, and I've got a blanket covering me, and I'm sitting on this bag of ice. The next thing I see, there's like 3 flight attendants, and they're kind of peering around and like pointing at me. So she's obviously got her whole group. But it made for an eventful week. I had to play in a jock strap all week because I needed the support, and it was rather uncomfortable.
Did you when you landed? Didn't you go to like the hospital in Honolulu when you landed?
I did. I ended up having to go to the hospital in Honolulu and get that checked out, and they gave me some stuff. And the guy's like, "Listen, you need to make sure you're playing in tighty whities and a jock strap and all the support you could get." And that was not a comfortable one, but
that is an
all made it through the week.
That is an all-timer. Oh man. Thank you for sharing that one, Brendon. I hadn't thought about that in years. That really tickled me.
Thanks for asking me to share that one.
Anything else come to mind from Sony Open for your experience or this week watching it?
I just remember how I actually felt somewhat fortunate. I told you that my travel story, that I didn't have the time to get nervous because I had a weird travel day. I feel like I would have been a lot more nervous, and it would have been a lot more difficult to hit that first tee shot if I'd had probably the preparation that you had. I know you went out there several days early and got ready for the event how you typically would.
Yeah, and it was so cool. It was surreal being there on the driving range, and that practice facility's not good. Everything's real small and tight. Obviously, space is premium, but I just remember seeing Jeff Ogilvy on the range, seeing Ernie Els on the range, and I got paired with Kenny Perry on the weekend, who was like a stud at the time, and he was just so nice to me. His wife Sandy was really nice to my wife Katie, and I just felt like it was an incredible way to start. And it's almost like you work so hard through college and the Nationwide Tour, Korn Ferry Tour, to get to the pinnacle, right? To get to the PGA Tour. And so it was a real surreal feeling being out there, having like a rookie dinner, and making it to the PGA Tour and playing the first event as a member. So certainly a special week. And there's a guy, the Korn Ferry Tour has gotten started this week. They've got that Sunday to Wednesday finish, and Bud Cauley making his return to professional golf. Hadn't played a PGA Tour sanctioned event since the 2020 Fortinet, so really good to see him back. I think he shot a couple under in the first round, and I kind of haven't paid attention to it since, but wish him all the best. Your pick last week was Harris English. He had a nice run on Sunday for you.
He did, yeah. Harris got it going. He was a little bit too far. Had sort of a very iffy Saturday. Left himself a little bit too much to do, but yeah, he's another guy that's coming back off an injury from a couple of years ago. Had that hip surgery, so nice to see Harris playing some golf, and he's going to be another one of those guys that's going to be vying for one of those team spots. Bukus of talent, and look for Harris to have a big year.
Yeah, I mean, how hard it is to make those teams. I think hopefully the international team comes on strong, and you got guys like Ben on and these players playing really well. It'd be nice to see the internationals actually win one of those.
Yeah.
I'm sure you feel the same way. I had Denny McCarthy. He had a nice run, shot 5 under. He started on the back nine Sunday, shot 5 under, and I was thinking, oh baby, but he sort of petered out, making the turn on the front nine. A couple hard par fours there on those first 6 holes, and he ended up making a double. That's pretty much all I got from the Sony this week coming up. You got anything else for the Sony before we transfer over to AMEX?
You know what? I want to keep a close eye on Alejandro Tosty. This guy is certifiably nuts, and I think he's going to be great viewing as the year moves along. Someone captured a picture of him kind of sitting crisscross applesauce on the side of the green, waiting for his 2 playing partners to hit up there. Kind of cut from the same ilk as Matt Every. Doesn't have a whole lot of patience. Doesn't deal well with slow play. Got removed from a Corn Ferry event last year for a number of disciplinary actions. I think this guy's going to be fun to watch. But in saying all of that, he's got some talent as well. Yeah, he opened.
Is he from Argentina?
Yeah, Argentinian guy. Opened with 66, and then he, as with his personality, shot 77 on Saturday and then 64 on Sunday. So I think this guy's going to be all over the map. But I think by year's end, there's going to be a lot of people that are talking about Alejandro Tosty.
Yeah, his name was mentioned a bunch up at Golf Channel. One of the researchers, Kevin Ryan, he's been throwing his name out there for a while about how wild he is, and kind of echoing your sentiments there. Yeah, Adrian De Jonge, I can't even say his name. Belgian player. He came out of the PGA Tour U program. He won his first event in the playoff on the Corn Ferry Tour last summer, and then lost in the playoff in his second week. Had 6 straight top 10s to open up his Corn Ferry Tour career. I'm expecting a lot out of him this season. He did not play well. Missed the cut by a mile, so that was a bit of a rough opener. But that's a tough place to start your year.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
You haven't played a tournament in months. It's windy. If you're not, you can make that golf course look pretty easy if you are spot on, especially off the tee. But if you are struggling off the tee, that place will jump up and bite you.
It's a very difficult golf course to play out of that Bermuda rough. There's probably, I can't think of another golf course where you can get flyers like you can out there. It's typically pretty dry. You start getting it over a couple of back of those greens, and you're just not getting the ball up and down. So you can be just a little bit off, and it can make you look pretty bad. As you say, if you're spot on, you can make it look easy, but it's not an easy driving golf course either. There's a lot of holes that play in different directions, a lot of crosswinds, and as you say, you're coming off a pretty long off season. Your game might not be quite as sharp, and what I'm trying to say is don't read too much into the scores from just one week for some of these guys.
I completely agree with you there. And then you look ahead to AMEX, and it's completely different experience. The wind usually doesn't blow out there in the desert in La Quinta, California. I personally miss when we played the Palmer and Nicklaus Private in La Quinta, and now over at the Stadium course, the Nicklaus Tournament. You and I've had a lot of experience there with Q School. You actually got your card there through Q School in December of 2006. It was a fun night after that. I was there for the rookie orientation. We had some good times. Bomber and Sneds, our practice run group. Amex has a good field. Scheffler's playing, Justin Thomas, Xander Schauffele. It seems like some of these guys are getting together when it's like they did it for Travelers a few years back. They have to, if they don't play 26, they have to play a tournament they haven't otherwise played. And it seems like a lot of these top players kind of show up at the same event to kind of boost a tournament. What are your thoughts going into Amex week?
Yeah, I was looking at it, and I think we're obviously going to make our picks moving forward. I was trying to look at someone to go out on a limb. Davis Thompson was someone that I was thinking about purely because of how well he played there last year. There's going to be a comfort level for him. He pushed John Rahm all the way to the end last year. He's a name that I'm going to keep a close eye on this week. He's not going to be my pick, but he's definitely going to be a name that I'm going to pay close attention to. Just somebody that's a little bit of a lesser name than the guys we expect to be in contention.
Yeah, I'm really excited, and he's probably going to be my pick. I'm really excited to see Justin Thomas. He didn't play much this fall. Played well at Fortinet leading into the Ryder Cup. Played pretty good at the Ryder Cup for an otherwise pretty bad U.S. team. And he was paired with Jordan Spieth, who didn't play good at all. I'm going to blame that one on the fact that Jordan had just had a baby, and there's bigger things in life than golf. But I'm looking forward to watching Justin Thomas play this week. He looked like he played pretty good at the Hero World Challenge. Swing looks good. I don't think his dad's going to be traveling with him as much. This is a big start. He's also 29th in the world ranking right now, and top 30 get into signature events. So I believe it's the week before the world ranking the week before. So he's still got, I guess, his spot after AMEX will be where he ends up going into the players' signature event. So a good finish this week could really lock him up to be in that top 30 for the next few signature events, which I think would be big to not have to get sponsor exemption.
I think that's a good pick, actually. Everything I've heard out of Justin Thomas's mouth, he's furious with the year that he had last year. He's maybe a little bit of a wake up call about I need to work perhaps a little bit harder or perhaps a little bit smarter. But yeah, everything he said, he's very, very disappointed in the year that he had last year and doesn't want to experience that feeling again. So I think that's a very, very good pick. I'm going to go with a guy he's world number one. I actually haven't picked him for a lot of events. So I'm going to pick Scotty Scheffler. I expect him to go out there and make a whole bunch of birdies. Those are some of the easiest greens to putt. They're always a perfect holding speed. And I'm looking for Scotty Scheffler to knock off a W here.
Can't fault you for a pick like that. That's I thought about Scotty. It just seemed like too easy of a decision, but
yeah,
for the low hanging fruit there. Some other news in the week: the first three sponsor exemptions came out for Pebble Beach. Not sure if you saw, but happened to be two board members on there: Webb Simpson and Peter Malnati. Got two board members getting spots into a signature event. That's good. Makes me want to get back on the board.
There's not a chance you would be getting in a spot into anything, regardless of what board you're on.
That's true. And then the third is Maverick McNeely. He's got obviously Northern Cal connections. Maybe his dad made a big donation to the Monterey Peninsula Foundation, but I don't want to start any rumors. Still one spot out there. We were talking this week with the guys up at Golf Channel. Gary Woodland has to be getting a sponsor solution this year. U.S. Open champ from there, just coming off brain surgery. I mean, right?
It makes way too much sense. It's a perfect opportunity for a great story as well. You know, U.S. Open champion last time it was at Pebble comes back after going through brain surgery. It would be a wonderful story. I really, really hope they do give Gary Woodland a spot in there.
Yeah, me too. Brendon, I'm all out. You got anything else you want to talk?
No, Wags. Glad to catch up with you. I got an 8:30 tee time at the Calusa Pines, so gonna see how it goes.
We'll get out there and shoot another 69 from 6,200 yards that you're playing, and tell all the guys I look forward to seeing them soon, and I look forward to seeing you in person. And thanks everybody for tuning in to the Wagyu Filet Show.